arms, yellow and black together, trying to explain how they had got their senses back again. Kotuko ran a hand down their ribs, which were round and well clothed. "They have found food," he said with a grin. "I do not think we shall go to Sedna so soon. My Tornak sent these. The sickness has left them." As soon as they had greeted Kotuko, these two, who had been forced to sleep and eat and hunt together for the past few weeks, flew at each other's throat, and there was a beautiful battle in the snow house. "Empty dogs do not fight," Kotuko said. "They have found the seal. Let us sleep. We shall find food." When they waked, there was open water to the north of the beach of the island, and all the loosened ice had been driven landward. The first sound of the surf is one of the most delightful that the Inuit can hear, for it means that spring is on the road. Kotuko and the girl took hold of hands and smiled, for the clear, full roar of the surge among the ice reminded them of salmon and reindeer time and the smell of blossoming ground willows. Even as they looked, the sea began to skim over between the floating cakes of ice, so intense was the cold. But on the horizon there was a vast red glare, and that was the light of the sunken sun. It was more like hearing him yawn in his sleep than seeing him rise, and the glare lasted for only a few minutes, but it marked the turn of the year. Nothing, they felt, could alter that. Kotuko found the dogs fighting over a fresh-killed seal who was following the fish that a gale always disturbs. He was the first of some 20 or 30 seal that landed on the island in the course of the day, and until the sea froze hard there were hundreds of keen black heads rejoicing in the shallow free water and floating about with the floating ice. It was good to eat seal liver again, to fill the lamps recklessly with blubber and watch the flame blaze 3 feet in the air. But as soon as the new sea ice bore, Kotuko and the girl loaded the hand sleigh and made the two dogs pull as they had never pulled in their lives, for they feared what might have happened in their village. The weather was as pitiless as usual, but it is easier to draw a sleigh laden with good food than to hunt starving. They left 25 seal carcasses buried in the ice of the beach, all ready for use, and hurried back to their people. The dogs showed them the way as soon as Kotuko told them what was expected, and though there was no sign of a landmark, in 2 days they were giving tongue outside Kadlu's house. Only 3 dogs answered them, the others had been eaten, and the houses were all dark. But when Kotuko shouted, "Ojo!" boiled meat, weak voices replied, and when he called the muster of the village, name by name, very distinctly, there were no gaps in it. An hour later the lamps blazed in Kadlu's house, snow water was heating, the pots were beginning to simmer, and the snow was dripping from the roof, as Amarak made ready a meal for all the village, and the baby boy in the hood chewed at a strip of rich, nutty blubber, and the hunters slowly and methodically filled themselves to the very brim with seal meat. Kotuko and the girl told their tale. The 2 dogs sat between them, and whenever their names came in they cocked an ear apiece and looked most thoroughly ashamed of themselves. A dog who has once gone mad and recovered, the Inuit say, is safe against all further attacks. "So the Tornak did not forget us," said Kotuko. The storm blew, the ice broke, and the seal swam in behind the fish that were frightened by the storm. Now the new seal holes are not 2 days distant. Let the good hunters go tomorrow and bring back the seal I have speared, 25 seal buried in the ice. When we have eaten those, we will all follow the seal on the floe." "What do you do?" said the sorcerer in the same sort of voice as he used to Kadlu, richest of the Tananaimea. Kadlu looked at the girl from the north and said quietly, "We build a house." He pointed to the northwest side of Kadlu's house, for that is the side on which the married son or daughter always lives. The girl turned her hands palm upward, with a little despairing shake of her head. She was a foreigner, picked up starving, and could bring nothing to the housekeeping. Amorek jumped from the beach where she sat and began to sweep things into the girl's lap. Stone lamps, iron skin scrapers, tin kettles, deer skins embroidered with musk-ox teeth, and real canvas needles such as sailors use. The finest dowry that has ever been given on the far edge of the Arctic Circle, and the girl from the north bowed her head down to the very floor. Also these, said Kotuko, laughing and signing to the dogs, who thrust their cold muzzles into the girl's face. Ah, said the Angekok with an important cough, as though he had been thinking it all over. As soon as Kotuko left the village, I went into the singing house and sang magic. I sang all the long nights and called upon the spirit of the reindeer. My singing made the gale blow that broke the ice and drew the two dogs towards Kotuko when the ice would have crushed his bones. My song drew the seal in behind the broken ice. My body lay still in the quaggy, but my spirit ran about on the ice and guided Kotuko and the dogs in all the things they did. I did it. Everybody was full and sleepy, so no one contradicted, and the Angekok, by virtue of his office, helped himself to yet another lump of boiled meat, and lay down to sleep with the others in the warm, well-lighted, oil-smelling home. Now Kotuko, who drew very well in the Inuit fashion, scratched pictures of all these adventures on a long flat piece of ivory with a hole at one end. When he and the girl went north to Ellesmere Land in the year of the wonderful open winter, he left the picture story with Kadlu, who lost it in the shingle when his dog sleigh broke down one summer on the beach of Lake Gletling at Nico Siring. And there a Lake Inuit found it next spring and sold it to a man at Imogen who was an interpreter on a Cumberland Sound whaler, and he sold it to Hans Olsen, who was afterward a quartermaster on board a big steamer that took tourists to the North Cape in Norway. When the tourist season was over, the steamer ran between London and Australia, stopping at Ceylon, and there Olsen sold the ivory to a Singhalese jeweller for two imitation sapphires. I found it under some rubbish in a house at Colombo, and have translated it from one end to another. End of section 18.